Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jamie. Today we are going to be going through my book reviews for the month of October. Hard to believe we are almost at the end of the year. I know I usually say that my month didn't go very well and that I had a lot of DNFs. Majority of those range around the ones I've had on my 25 for 2025 list. This month it was absolutely ridiculous. I had so many bad ones, or not really bad ones, just ones that I have been holding on to forever that I thought were going to be good, and they weren't to me for multiple reasons. Another reason is because I thought I was going to have so many more 5 stars this month than I actually did. Like a lot of my anticipated new releases, they weren't 5-star, they were close, but not fully. First, we're going to get into statistics, and it's very interesting looking back at how I did this month. Overall, I had a total number of 14 books. It seems like a lot, but in reality, it's really not, and I read maybe little more than half of that. The page count, the 6,000, yeah, that's not even close. It's more like 3 to 4. For moods, ironically, most of them range around mystery, dark, tense, and lighthearted, which is weird. The pace was mostly medium range. I didn't have anything too fast, and then I didn't have anything really slow, but it was enough to definitely be noticeable. Page number, most of them ranged around the normal range, the 300 to 499. I did have some books that were over 500 pages this month, so I think that also had something to do with it, why I feel like I didn't read a lot, because a lot of these books were over 400 pages and it took me a while to get through. All of them were fiction. I didn't have any nonfiction this month. I wish I did. For genres, the one that took the cake this month was the thriller and fantasy. I was very surprised about that. And then we also had a little bit of mystery, and most of them had romance in it, at least as a subplot to it, so it was enjoyable, but I didn't read specifically romance books this month. Guys, I had so many DNFs. Those are all the not rated books on there. It's ridiculous. I did have everything else above a 3.25. I only had a little one 5-star, which ironically was the last book that I read this month, and we'll get to that. Pages, they were all over the place as usual. I had my ups and downs. I had my spikes where I'd read. That really big spike was from reading all the DNFs back to back. It was pretty bad. I had almost given up for the rest of the month just to scrap the whole TBR and start over, but I did finish it. Right, now that all the statistics are done, we're gonna deep dive into all the books I read and what I thought about them, would I recommend them, would I not. I mean, it's your guys' choice if you choose not to read them. So I started off really strong though with the books that I've been looking forward to the most. I did really enjoy them. First one being Taunting a Tracy. That one was a solid 4.25. I did like it, but I did like the relationship between both the main characters a lot less than I did with Emmett and Riley from the first one. I did enjoy it. I love the high amount of smut and romance and tension. She's very good at writing tension. I'll definitely give her that. But this one, their romance didn't do it for me because I don't like that kind of a relationship. That's me personally, and I was able to personally overlook that and deep dive more into how she would feel or how he would feel about the situation, and I did really enjoy the rest of the book, and I am really looking forward to seeing what happens with Tattersack Tracy. The third book, I am so excited to read, you guys, because it's a continuation of Tracy's story, but now I know why she split it up into 2 parts. This was everything before, and I have a feeling Tatters of Tracy is going to be everything after a major event happens. There was just so much hate in the relationship, and that's the only reason why it was below 4.5. I'm hoping the second one is not going to be like that, and we're going to get a little more, dealing with inner demons. I did love the found family in this that Tracy experienced. Blake is definitely a character I would have stayed away from in real life. Some people may like it. I personally don't. I don't see, with Blake, I didn't see that gray area where we see his reasoning behind things like we did with Emmett in the first one. With Emmett, you absolutely hate, and then you grow to understand, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe he is okay. I didn't get that with him, which is part of the reason, I think, why I didn't like it as much. But once again, I loved the underlining problems, substance things that were going on, and just the tension that she writes is amazing. I absolutely love it. The second one I decided to pick up, this one I read as an audiobook, was Code of Justice by Stacey Abrams. I was kind of disappointed, so this one earned me a 4.5. I didn't rate it any lower with the disappointment because I still really enjoyed the ideas and the premise and everything else that tied in with it. I should have read a little bit of what it was about because I thought we were going to be continuing with the original plotline, the original story from the first two books, not go to something completely different. Is one thing that I don't think we should combine together, and it's very early on in the book. Just to give an idea what this one was about versus the first two, Avery Keene, she goes through a lot of things. She discovers conspiracies that most people overlook and traveling down ways that people didn't think she was going to go towards. She not only has a photographic memory, but she is very good at puzzles and figuring things out. So she doesn't forget anything. She is pulled in to look into what happened with deaths in an AI company that is just about to launch a program that is supposed to help veterans in the medical field. So there's in charge of anything dealing with, their past, dealing with where they've been, the deployments they were on, anything they were subjected to that may be different from everybody else in the world. Those kind of things all come into play with the AI. I thought it was really interesting, but there are also a lot of dangers with that too, and we definitely do a deep dive into that. All the more reason why I think AI should stay out of medical. Personal opinion, and if you guys want to figure it out, definitely give this a go. It could have been a standalone by itself. You don't have to read the first two to understand what's going on in this one. So I'd say if you want to give this one a try, definitely do so, because you don't really have to read the other two to understand what's going on. I liked the story. I loved where we went with it. It was very predictable to where I knew half of everything that was going on. The other reason was because I felt like I was just surprised that it wasn't the same thing as we've been going. I thought we were going to stick with the government issues and the conspiracies dealing with the president at the time and what happened afterwards, because I thought we left off in a cliffhanger and I wanted to figure out what happened next. But this one, it definitely took me by surprise, and I kind of wasn't expecting it, so that's kind of my fault, which is why I didn't rate it any lower than 4.5. This wasn't what I wanted at the time. It was still intriguing, it is still really, really good, and I am going to keep reading her books, but I think from now on I will definitely check the premise and see where we're going this time. If we're going to go back to the original story, cool. But I think if we start branching out and doing different things, or if this is just a trilogy, then okay, I'll accept it. I think the other reason why I didn't like it as much was because I didn't get as much thriller as we have been getting in the first two. And I think because it was so predictable, they didn't go well together. So because I knew what was going on, I didn't feel like there were surprises. That was one of the ones I was hoping would be a 5-star, and it was close, but it wasn't. This next one, I can't talk too much about because it's not out yet. As of today, we still have a few days before it is officially out. I got to read We Fell Apart by E. Lockhart. It was a little different. It was definitely different. From the original story, this is like an off branch about different kids, but they also relate to all the other kids and everything that was going on the islands at Martha's Vineyard. We Fell Apart was given to me by NetGalley. This is one of the few I got approved for, so I was able to read this early for you guys, and I gave it a solid 4.75. It was really, really good. The only reason why I didn't give it a 5-star was because to me it wasn't as memorable as the first two. I really, really enjoyed all the drama and everything else. This one, it had like one pinpoint drama. There wasn't like a lot of other major dramas trying to with it. I really, really enjoyed it. It went down a direction I didn't think it was going to, and it did surprise me, which earned it more points with me than a couple of the other books I've read so far. YA mystery really suits this author very, very well. I think she writes YA mystery and drama very well, to the point where it doesn't sound like it's YA, but it deals with YA characters. I pictured the house, I pictured the people, and all the other things that were going on in here were so great. It was very realistic to how we move forward with the first two. So I'd say if you really, really enjoyed the first two, because you definitely have to read them before you read this one, I would say expect some new characters. However, remember your old characters. That's all I'm going to say about that. It is very, very interesting. This comes out on November 7th. Definitely read this, guys. It's really, really good, and I wonder if she's going to continue with the series or not. I thought she was done after the first two, but I can keep going, especially now that this is an actual series on Amazon. And I did watch the first episode, and it was really, really, really good, and to me, accurate. I loved the characters they got to play them. They were so good. I will continue with the series because I did enjoy it, and I want to see if they follow the actual storyline. Some things were a little iffy, but who doesn't change anything when it comes to movie adaptations? If you guys haven't watched that yet, it is free to watch on Amazon, so definitely go look and see. We still haven't hit any of my physical books that I have here yet. These were all just ones that I either had to return to the library or I had to read on my tablet. This one I actually got to listen to. This one was so good. And also one of the ones I was hoping was going to be a 5-star by the end of it, but it wasn't. The next one I got to read was The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. This one, I was supposed to read this last month. However, I never got around to it because I did such a slow job with reading my own TBR. I didn't get around to reading one of the book club books that I had to read for that month. I definitely got to read it this month, and I was so happy that I did. Guys, if you like Legends and Lattes, you guys will like this because it's got a little bit more romance in it, but it's definitely the same feel and the same idea of like a leveling up story, but also having other plot lines going on with it. These plot lines were more prominent in The Spellshop versus Legends and Lattes, but it was still really, really good. I loved the different characters we got in here. Definite fantasy stuff. If you guys liked, the mermaids, and her best friend is a talking plant. I mean, come on. This one earned a 4.75. I really, really enjoyed this one just because of the cozy feel. And it wasn't like Legends and Lattes where you had all the bakery feel, but you definitely felt the magic and the plant life especially with having a plant as a best friend, the characters, and there were still some other things in here that Legends and Lattes had, but it was really, really good. So if you guys liked that trilogy, as of this point it's a trilogy, definitely give this one a try. We get a little bit of politics in here, but the majority of it is a cozy leveling up, slightly little bit of romance story, and I loved it. It was so good, and I know where I can get the second one, so the Enchanted Greenhouse I will definitely be grabbing at some point. It is on my list to get. And then we dive into my first DNF for this month, which was How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying. I was so disappointed with this story. Guys, I loved the premise. I loved the idea of it. I was hoping for something that I didn't get. I DNF'd this only because of the language, which I have rarely ever done. When something has a lot of curse words in it, usually I don't mind if it's like a modern day, because you expect it. This one, I was expecting something like, you know, medieval talk or more extravagant, and it was so vile and very foul-mouthed, to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I did not like having that much language in there, especially within the first few pages. Like, good lord. Django Wexler, I may try again if he's written anything else, but I was just so disappointed because I felt like we could have did with a lot less language, and it ruined it. It ruined it for me. So that one was a very quick DNF, because that was very quick to see that it wasn't going away. Next one, I also don't have a physical copy for. I did get it from the library, and it was one of my TBR picks for this month. Guys, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. So close to a 5-star. So close. It was a 4.75. V. Schwab I will definitely be reading again. What I wanted from How to Become a Dark Lord, Bury Our Bones did it so much better. The language, the atmosphere that we were set in, the time period we were set in. Oh, and she got the timelines on point. She did so good with this. Structured so well. I love how she set everything up, with the timelines and the back and forth, with the storyline. Beautifully written, by the way, too. I loved Maria's story. Maria was my favorite. Alice's story, I felt like, I thought it was relevant, yes. Did I feel like we got too much backstory to explain anything else that was going on in the story? Yes. I felt like Alice's character was dove way too much into for what I felt like it could have been. I kind of didn't want Alice's story much in there. Everybody else I felt like were relevant to the story and the progression, especially the other characters were in here. I was definitely surprised a couple of times. It was different. I never thought I would like a lesbian vampire story, but you know what? I kind of liked it. The romance definitely is subjective to the reader, because you could like it or you could not like it. I definitely felt indifferent to it. I could see why it was important, but at the same time, I was confused of why they were feeling that way, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain. But the only reason why it was not a 5-star, because I felt very strongly about this book. It was really, really good, and I have been thinking about it a couple of times since finishing it earlier on in the month. The only reason was Alice's story. And I felt like the ending wrapped up way too quickly. And we did all this build-up. with the backstories, and, you know, this was set really, really far back in the time period, and then we're leaping all the way to present day. A lot of area to cover. So we did all that, and then just to get a very abrupt, short ending to solving everything was kind of annoying. If I'm gonna be honest. This is the only reason why I didn't get a 5-star. Or at least got more action into it to make it more interesting and then have that ending. So definitely read this one if you have not picked this up yet, especially if you like V. Schwab or if you've never read V. Schwab before. I haven't, and I absolutely loved it. But I love vampires. It was also very gory. And I like gory stories. It's weird to say, but I can handle it, and I picture it, and I cringe, and definitely played into the vampire part. Did such a good job with that, and all the other sayings in here was just beautiful. Finally, hitting physical copies of my books. So, after reading Bury Our Bones, I had hit a very big slump, and that tends to happen when I have something that's really, really good that I can't get out of my head very well. It takes me time to dive more into it and think thoroughly about it. It took me a couple days until I wrote that review to evaluate, was this a 5-star or did I not like a couple of things? You know, it played out that way. So I had a couple of days where I just stopped, and then I needed something else to pick me up again. So I decided to go with something my sister had gifted me, a copy, the anthology of Scottish folk tales. I was very surprised by this, of how much I enjoyed it. It's very short. It only took me about 2 days to read them, and I read like half of it in one sitting. And very easy stories. If you guys like grim fairy tales, these are definitely right up there with them. I actually knew a couple of these stories from these guys. And for those of you who haven't, you guys obviously don't watch Jim Henson movies. But if you do and you know these guys, some of their stories are in here, they're just revised a little. So that was surprising. I didn't think that some of their stories were Scottish folktales. I'm going to have to do a deep dive because they do state in the beginning. I really enjoyed this. Some of them were gory. Some of them were very disturbing. A lot shorter, and only a few of them were actually in the Scottish language. Most of them were in like regular English format. Some of them were... I had to sound Scottish in my head in order to pronounce everything that was going on in here. It took me a minute, but I was able to understand after reading it for so long. I gave it a 4.25 because more than likely I won't read them again. I may read a couple of them because I can watch the Jim Henson's versions. They changed them a little bit with the characters or the monsters or whatever was supposed to be in here in the first place. But I did enjoy them regardless, so it would definitely be going back on the shelf, contrary to the rest of the stack we're about to get to. We are officially at the point where we're going to be dishing out the DNFs. Starting with the first one, The Inland by T. O'Bright. Writing. I was falling asleep while reading this and being very confused. It was very drawn out. I just wasn't being gripped into it, and I gave it to Nick for a minute. I'm like, I'm not crazy, am I? And he read it, and he was just as confused. So it's not just me, thankfully. I was kind of hoping that I would like this author, and I think I'm going to skip her altogether, to be honest. So this is going to be one that's not staying. Next one, that was the DNF. Same reason, writing. So the Rope Line of Bar, the writing, I didn't like this as well because it was written a lot like a YA, and I wasn't expecting that. I didn't expect this kind of book to be a YA. And not only that, but I wasn't gripped by the story at all. I wasn't liking the characters. I wasn't really clear on what was going on in the first place. So I put this one down, and I'm like, you know what? It wasn't doing it for me either. So this one's also going to be going. 10, this was the surprise DNF. I did not think I was going to DNF this book. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Same reason as the other two. It was the writing. I got a little bit further into this one. I got about like 50 pages in, which was about right here. I got a good bit in, and I even tried, guys, I tried so much with this one. I started reading it, I got about like 30 pages through, and then I switched to the audio, which I never do with a book. I never switch halfway through, just to see if I'll maybe like the audio more, I can deal with it more, and I couldn't. It was just so drawn out, and I was so bored. I don't know if it was the writing type. We'll figure it out, because I got another Gillian Flynn book on my shelf, and it's shorter than this one. So we'll figure that out. I don't know if it was that, or if it was just there was nothing going on to grab my attention. I don't know if this is mostly a literary thriller, which I usually don't like. I don't like literary mixing with thriller, because it takes away the angst and everything going on in the now. Why are we talking about everything before right now instead of being in the moment now, the first chapter, being here for the moment, and then going back and doing backstory stuff, integrating them into it. This was the disappointment, because I've heard so many good things about this, and I was frankly very surprised that I decided to DNF it. I don't know if I'm going to like the other one, but we'll see. I'll put it on my list of ones to give a second chance, because I do want to give her a second chance. But yeah, that one was the disappointed DNF. And speaking of disappointments, this is Dr. Sleep with Stephen King. This is the second one in the Shining duology, everything dealing with his son. So this story is about Dan, his son, and moving forward with his life, what he did everything after the hotel, and, you know, moving forward with the story. This one earned a 3.25. I didn't think that I was going to give it that rating. However, there were so many things in here that I just either didn't like or that I thought was unnecessary. The main reason why I took a full star off, because to me this wasn't creepy like it was in the first one. We had already known about some of the creepy characters from the first book, because they do come apart in here a little bit, not a lot. There just wasn't that thriller spooky feeling to me, and I thought I was gonna get a lot of it from this one, considering, you know, everything that had happened to him, and I thought we were gonna get a lot worse. The other reason why is because it didn't have a lot of thriller to it, meaning I didn't feel like the stakes were high enough. Like, there were some dealing with Abra and what she was going through, yes. This guy, it's just, I enjoy the characters returning, and I like the ideas, and everything that happened with Dan is very understandable, and everything that he went through was definitely rough. I'll give him that. Kind of not surprised he kind of took that route, because of who his father was, and he just wanted to break the cycle, and I did appreciate that side of the story very, very much. I felt like we dragged on it a little too much. The movie, when I watched that, I actually loved how they split everything up a lot more than how they did the book. A little too much detail. It is what it is. The other reason why I docked it a full star was because of the ending. Not what I expected. It felt like it was very, not only cut short, but also like, seriously? That's the solution to the problem? I did like the movie's ending a lot better, and it kind of wrapped up everything that happened in the first one. So I did enjoy that. This one, she won't be staying either. I didn't enjoy it. If I'm going to dive into The Shining again, I think I'm just going to watch the movie and then catch up on it that way. But I don't want to read this again. I wouldn't even really recommend it to anyone, because it's too long. I love the story. I loved all the characters we had in here. It was very interesting where they decided to go with the story. Freaky things going on, yes. Gory things, also yes. But thriller, not really. Creepy, also not really. Yeah, this one I had such high hopes for, and it didn't deliver on it for me. Shining did a lot better on the creep factor, but I did like it. It was okay. Alright, this next one, this was my last DNF that I did for this month, was Bookish Boyfriends. This is the last one that I am reading for my 25 for 2025. I wanted to get that list just out of the way, so I chose something off of there. This one, I didn't not like it. That's not what I'm saying about this one. This one, I just think I would have liked it a lot better if I was in middle school or high school. There was instant love in here. I was actually baffled going through the rage and everything else, cringing just a little bit with this because Tiffany Schmidt has really good writing. I'm not going to say it's a bad book, okay? I will read Tiffany Schmidt if she has other books written, not in the series, because I feel like this is a little too YA for me. To the point where I just didn't want to deal with it. I can handle some YA things. Morgan Madsen is one of my favorite YA authors, and I can read her just fine. This one, very drama-filled. Something you would have to be in high school or middle school to understand. The instant love completely threw me off. I feel like that was such a surprise that I just didn't want anything to do with it. But, so I'm not saying this one is bad. This one is just not for me. If she has other books that are either adult or something different, not in this series, because this is a series, I'll definitely give them a try. But this series, I probably will just give it to someone else who will definitely enjoy it better than I will. The next one, I was very happy that I was able to get through this one this month because I questioned getting through my own book club book this month. I literally finished this like 2 days ago. As Good as Dead by Hallie Jackson, I did enjoy. This one earned a 4.5 for me. Where the other two books were 5 stars, this one only earned a 4.5 because I felt like when we got to this point, this was beautiful, and I think this could have been summed up a lot quicker than it did. Because there was that horror aspect, I was freaking out at some points. I got anxiety listening to this. The audio is beautiful, by the way. Once again, cast did a wonderful job. I love the interviews and the phone calls and everything else that happened in there. Beautiful job. Beautiful job. Definitely made it harder on herself. I thought she did bad with that in the first two. But this one, she went off the deep end. The last 150 pages dragged a lot for me. But before that, beautiful. I loved the thriller part of it. How we solved everything. I was surprised, and then we took a drastic turn I didn't think we were going to go down. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I was like, halfway through this book, I'm like, this is so messed up. This is a different kind of messed up. I can see why a lot of people didn't enjoy this one versus the other one because of the decisions she decided to make in this. There were several different routes that she could have gone with this, and the one she took was actually one of the hardest that you could possibly take in this scenario. So I definitely loved how they did tie everything else up, though, from the first two. It was a good way to end the trilogy. Killjoy, I think I will get a hold of just to see what it's about. It's a little short story attached to the series, but I will definitely be reading Hallie Jackson's other works because she does a really, really good job at giving the thriller or mystery feel and surprising you, because she definitely surprised me every single book that she did. This one just dragged a lot towards the end, and I feel like I could have wrapped up a lot quicker and in a lot easier way. I feel like it was drawn out way too much. So I was very satisfied with it. I'm not saying it was bad. I mean, I gave it a 4.5. It's still really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a good way to wrap up the series. I just wish that it was shorter. I'm happy that we finished this. Several of the girls in the book club, they enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun with it, and I was very happy to fit it in this month. I thought I was going to be able to. Same with this next book. This next book, I do not physically have either, I started Anathema. That is how I'm going to say it, and that's where I'm going to leave it. The only reason why I decided to include it was because I was so close to finishing it. I'm like 60 pages away from finishing this book, so I decided to include it and give my review, which is, this is my only 5-star this month. Absolutely beautiful. This book is definitely a different vibe than I'm used to, and I've been looking for a good Gothic thriller, fantasy, something with all of them combined. And this, I was so happy because I had a feeling I was gonna like this just from the cover alone. I'm like, please tell me this is gonna be actually dark and Gothic and thriller or gory or something. It was all of the above, and I loved this. This was so good. My favorite character in this was, I've been pronouncing her in my head as Rakia. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to pronounce her name, but I absolutely love her. I think she's a beautiful character. She represents so many different things to me. She reminds me of one of my friends that I knew in middle through high school. Absolutely a spitfire, very stubborn. Absolutely love her. The story itself was a combination of self-growth and political plot, which is very iffy for me, and I loved how they did this one because Evander brought the political plot from his POV, and I loved that part of it. I didn't feel like it was unnecessary POV. It was beautiful, and it did so much for the story. I'm so glad she did it that way. I love this. It was so good. I really enjoyed this. I am so looking forward to finishing that last 60 pages because I want to figure out where we leave off. But even if it takes like a drastic turn, it's still considered a 5-star for me because of everything I've gone through. It's over a 600-page book. Okay, it's extensive. I really enjoyed this, and the magic, the fantasy world building, beautiful as well. With a lot of different names that I'm not used to saying. The language definitely takes some getting used to because there's a lot of magic names. The names themselves from the characters are very hard to pronounce, and even in my head they're like, how are we supposed to sound this out in our head? It's just one of those books. But I really enjoyed this. Guys, this was so good, and I am so happy we read this for another book club pick this month. So happy I got to this. This was definitely one that I was hoping would be a 5-star, and it delivered. So if you guys haven't read this yet, I would highly recommend reading it. It is on Kindle Unlimited, so it's very easy to read. Those are all the books that I have read for this month. Like I said, a lot of DNFs. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. But 14 is still pretty good, even though I only read like less than 10 of them. So, but like what I said, all of those were very thick books. I did read very chunky ones, and I was very proud of myself for that. I'd say the favorite out of the month was Anathema, and my least favorite, my disappointment, I'm still upset that I didn't like How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying. I was so upset about that. I was thankful no one was home except the animals, and the animals ran from me because I was so mad. I think it radiated off how I was so frustrated. This was definitely nice to get off my chest. I am ready for a complete fresh start this month. I'm looking forward to a lot of my new reads. Or if you guys want to join our book club, that would be absolutely wonderful. I would love to have you be a part of this little group I've started to create. It's so awesome. We finished so many series. I finished up the Shining duo. We finished up the Good Girl Sketch and Murder series. Made headway in the Fractured Soul series. Coded Justice put me up to date with Avery Keene series, and We Fell Apart also finished up E. Lockhart series for me, so we did really good for this month. I will say that I did finish a lot of books that needed to be finished in a series. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe. That'll help me give you guys more videos every week. Love your ears and drink your teas, and I'm gonna go get started reading some more. Bye!